What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another crime story video. Today we're reading the story of Bob, a serial killer known as La Bestia. But before we get started, I just want to introduce you to my new editor, Isaac. Down below, I want you in the comment section, make sure to say hi to him. But before we get started, I just want to remind you all to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so that we don't miss videos like this. They're really fun for me to read. I enjoy making them, and I hope you all enjoy me making them too. Alright, let's just jump on into it. In 1992, children began disappearing off the streets of Colombia at an alarming rate. Due to the years-long Colombian conflict, many children were either poor, lived on the streets, or were orphans. Their disappearance did not immediately raise concern. No police reports were filed on the missing children. However, bodies began surfacing in various places around Colombia. In 1997, a mass grave containing 27 bodies were found in Pereira. Then in February 1998, the bodies of two naked men were found in Genoa. A large knife and a note with an address on it were found near the bodies. The address would later help identify the killer. The day after the Genoa victims were found, another child naked was discovered only meters away. All their bodies' hands were bound and there bore signs of sexual abuse. The necks were severely cut and bruises were found on their genitals, backs, legs, and buttocks. Almost a year later, in January 1999, another mass grave containing 25 bodies were found with 13 pieces of evidence left behind. The evidence consisted of underwear, lubricant, liquor, a pair of burnt eyeglasses, shoes, and a wallet containing money. Forensic investigators Carlos Hernam Herrera analyzed the evidence and began to get a clear picture of the killer. The shoes showed uneven wear, which indicated the shoes were too large for him, and the killer walked with a limp. The money in the wallet indicated the killer traveled around a lot, even into Ecuador. The owner of the glasses bent the frame to allow to accommodate uneven ears. The lens prescription was specific to an illness that occurs in people between the ages of 40 and 60 years old. Authorities believed that only one killer was responsible for the murders, and he was most likely unintelligent and a huge risk taker. They started referencing to the unknown killer as La Bestia, or the Beast, because of the savagery of his crimes. Identifying the bodies of the victims was a challenge. The skeletal remains made identification impossible using fingerprints, and no dental records were found. The only real option was facial reconstruction. Police brought in Frank Bender, a forensic artist who had created a near-identical sculpture of fugitive killer John List, and Mario Artundian, a forensic constructionist. I honestly do not know how to pronounce that last name. While reconstructing a child's face is more difficult than an adult, together the two were able to reconstruct 4 faces which were identified successfully. As the investigation progressed, authorities started to piece together La Bestia's modus operandi, also known as MO. Witnesses saw a man luring children away with either candy, money, or offers of work. He was dressed as a priest, earning the nickname La Cura. The man took on different roles such as farmer, teacher, street performer, and drug dealer, in order to gain the trust of his victims so they would willingly leave with him. Detective Aldemar Duran has been investigating the deaths of 3 children since 1996. He began pulling archived files between 1992 and 1998 of anyone who had aggression towards children. He came across victims who had been traumatized with several similar characteristics, such as possession of bodies, and fiber found. He knew there had to be a connection to the other bodies. Duran hit the streets with his team, posing as homeless men in hopes of gaining any leads or tips to help identify La Bestia. He traveled to Bogota to research some murders that took place there. He came across the file of Ronaldo del Gatto, a 12-year-old boy who had been murdered in 1996. The positioning of his body with hands tied and almost headless was very similar to the cases he was investigating. Witnesses in Tunja saw the boy with a strange man before. The strange man was Luis Garavado, and he was questioned by police. The file containing a recent address for Garavado, which matched the one written on the note found at the Genoa crime scene. Duran drove to the address and Esther, Garavado, Louis' sister, answered the door. She had not seen Louis in months, but she did give Duran a box containing her some of her brother's files. The box contained a variety of items: pictures of Garavado, cards, receipts, notes, pads with details, and more. One receipt was for a money wire. Duran followed up on the receipt and discovered more boxes and bags belonging to Garavado. These contained bus and lottery tickets, nylon rope, newspaper, clippings, razors, and lube. Meanwhile, prosecutor Fernando Aya was trying to figure out how La Bestia could move bodies around without being seen, and ordered his men back to the crime scene. He needed to understand why no one could complain about the smell of the bodies, or how the killer remained unseen while disposing of the bodies. The mass graves were located in well-trafficked areas. Police set up 24-hour surveillance to track the movement of people nearby. From a tall tower, Aya and his team observed caretakers of the grounds who patrolled on horseback. The dense vegetation was thick and hard to walk through, which is why the caretakers were on horseback and not aware of the crimes that had taken place there. With Aya and Duran on the heels of the killer, it wasn't long before an arrest was made. On April 22nd, 1999, Ivan Sabagol, 12, left home to sell lottery tickets on the street. When he didn't come home at his usual time, his mom went to the police station to report him missing. Later that day, a call came into the police station from an auto shop. The caller stated a boy showed up who said he had been kidnapped. The boy was Ivan Sabagol. A homeless man rescued him when he heard the boy scream. Police searched the area but did not find the kidnapper. On the way to the station, Ivan pointed at a man walking down the street and began shouting, "That's him! That's him!" Police stopped the car and apprehended the man, who identified himself as Bonifacio Moreno Lescado. The man's appearance was similar to the description of La Bestia. He was 42, wore glasses, and walked with a limp. Police were positive this was their killer, but they needed proof. Police needed to get the man's DNA without the man realizing that they were doing what they were doing. They set up eye exams for all the inmates so Lescado would not get suspicious and lie on his. While doing the eye exam, officers searched his cell for anything helpful and located hair samples on the pillow. They also found phone numbers. The DNA linked Lescado to the kidnapping, and the eye exam proved he had the same eye condition as the killer. The phone numbers led to his friends of Luis Garavito. The man they had in custody was not Lescado. He was Luis Garavito. The man questioned by police in Roland Delgado's 1996. Garavito was born Luis Alfredo Garavito, Cabilos, on January 25th, 1957 in Genova, Colombia. He was the oldest of 7 brothers and raised in Western Colombia. During his childhood, Garavito suffered physical and sexual abuse at the hands of his father, and he was repeatedly raped by 2 male neighbors. He left home at age 16 and moved around to wherever jobs would take him. Garavito's childhood abuse led to a long history of alcohol problems and mental illnesses as an adult. He attempted suicide at least once and was under psychiatric care for 5 years. He had a girlfriend with a small child, and the two got along well together. Friends told police Garavito was kind but had a temper. Detective Duran investigated Garavito in custody. At this point, he allowed Garavito to believe that he was Lescado. Hours went by, and Garavito still would not admit his true identity or to killings. Finally, after 18 hours of interrogation, Garavito broke and began talking. That's when he admitted to killing at least 140 young boys. Once Garavito had the victims in his care, he walked with them until they were worn out and could not resist. Then he tortured and raped the boys before ultimately killing them. Luis Garavito was charged with the killing of a total of 172 children, but was found guilty of 138. He was sentenced to 1,853 years and 9 days in prison, the longest sentence in Colombian history. However, Colombian law at the time limited incarceration to 40 years. The law later changed to 60 years maximum incarceration. Garavito's prison location is not being disclosed. He made a deal with police that if he helped them locate more victims, they would keep him separated from the general prison population for his own safety. Because Garavito helped police, his sentence was reduced to only 22 years. He is out for parole in 2021. The families of his victims are fighting his release. Local media dubbed Luis Garavito the world's worst serial killer due to the large number of victims. He claimed he murdered up to 400 young boys.